That's intimidating. Now I'm nervous.
So we're recording audio and this presentation only. There's no visual, like you guys, no one's on camera. So is that okay?
Yeah, no, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Amy pre-warned me.
She warned you.
It's
She
just
prepped
that
you.
audio popping up, recording in progress, and something inside of you goes,
You can minimize that little box as well. Yeah, cool. Wonderful. If there's anybody sort of late, we'll send them in.
okay. Sounds good.
Good.
Thanks, Liz.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Amy. I'm the Office and Communications Administrator here at the Small Business Center. We're really excited to host you all today and talk about social media with our friend Anne from Relevant Social Media Services. There's some bottled water, pens, stuff at the back, so make yourself comfortable. Bathrooms are just out this door and to the left at the end of the hall. That's all I have, so we're just gonna get right into it. That thing works?
I'm good,
now?
yeah.
Okay, good, all right,
Oh, well,
maybe,
it was good.
all right.
Maybe it'll. Is it just from that angle it works? No, it's just that, yeah. It's
The
really
mouse
not a
is
big
right
deal.
there.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
to kind of stand behind you anyway to see the
Okay.
screen, so we'll just be behind you as well. But welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It's an honor that so many people have come to learn from me. I normally do smaller team settings, but I really enjoy public speaking, so hopefully that stands today as well. It's been a while since I've done it in front of a bigger group, so just have some grace for me today. I do want to go around and see what industries everyone is from, just to get kind of an idea of the questions that might come up and how to tailor some information. I don't know if you want to go around, share your names, and then what business you're coming from today. And also, I would really like to know if you're coming as a business owner or if you're coming as the representative from your business. So we want to do clockwise. Sure.
I'm Mel and I'm the owner of Mel's Pierogies. My husband and I run the business. We make handmade pierogies.
I'm Elaine, second generation at Brambleberry Farm. Carrie. Brambleberry Farm.
I knew I recognized you.
Oh, yeah.
I worked at
Oh, yeah.
Gary's Farm when I was,
14.
that was like my first job. Yeah,
Oh,
2
that's
years. I
wonderful.
was very slow, by the way.
I'm Rebecca and I work in communications.
I'm Brenda Waymeyer and I'm in real estate.
I am Hanson and I run Dumal events. I'm not the owner, I'm just the event operation manager.
I'm Craig and I'm a professor here at Loyalist.
I'm Ruth and I work for the Queen Home Builders Association.
I'm Penny and I work at Avail Veteran Medical. My husband's the owner. I'm here because he doesn't like doing it.
I'm Terry and I have a yoga business and a women aging bracelet.
And then around here, and I have to get you paper and a pen.
Okay.
As well, yeah.
Yeah, I can take those on the phone.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
okay.
can, we're gonna do a little bit of doodling and then some point form
Sure.
cross, so it might be easier to do on a page, but if you prefer to use your phone.
Yeah, that's
by all
cool.
means,
Yeah, no worries.
Anyway, we're just introducing ourselves and then the industry that we are from and whether or not you're the business owner or you're representing the business here.
Okay, yeah, so hi, my name is Evelyn and I'm self-employed. I'm a business owner and I'm in marketing.
Madeline. Okay, so we will jump right in. If this is working, I think everything might have disconnected on me. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is everything we're talking about today. Honestly, I'm just gonna leave this screen on. You can review it, just so when people look at the YouTube later, they see what's going on, but I don't want to spend too much time going over kind of those little details. Okay, so social media strategy, we're going to be covering the social media strategy and a little bit of content creation today, and I'm hoping to also touch into how to schedule very, very briefly, because this is very comprehensive, so I've tried to cut it down as much as possible. As well as the content creation piece, we're gonna play around with a couple different things. But social media strategy essentially is understanding what you want to say, how you want to say it and specifically who you're talking to. So the two key players on your social media is your business and your audience. And until you really understand what you want to say about your business and what your audience needs to hear, you can't do a strategy properly. So we want to get into a little bit of brand definition, but focus on social media. I don't know if anybody wants to read that over, or if you prefer if I kind of give a glance, but essentially it's strategic storytelling. So that's the goal. I do want to touch on why it's important though. So a social media strategy is something that increases your brand awareness. Once you have that down pat, you will be able to increase more visibility, but especially help people become organic advocates for your business. So while you want to reach out to your target audience and your ideal customer, you also want to create people that are loyal to your business. So let's take contractors, for example, contractors on social media. You may use a contractor once in your lifetime. So you're not following them constantly and thinking, oh my goodness, this is something I need to know about. But someone else who you know might be. And when you ask people around you, who do you recommend as a contractor, they may remember someone they're following on social media because either they present their values really, really well and they go, this is a good guy. This is the guy you want to work with. He's really about family. He's really about quality. Or maybe they know that you're looking for a specific aesthetic. So that is what we mean by organic advocates for your business. When you present that differentiation and you create that loyalty with people that are following you on social media, they will become organic representatives for your business and spokespeople without you paying them for anything. So that's the goal with the social media strategy, is how do we get to that point? Improve customer engagement. So customer service used to be, all phone, all email, all chat, and it still is, but you also have the opportunity to build stronger loyalty by engaging with people through your social media, whether that's outreach or people coming to you with comments, DMs, etc. So we want to talk about that as well. Increase brand understanding. So you have more control on your social media, telling people who you are as a business than ever before. It's not just newspaper ads. It's not just billboards. It's not commercials on television. You can control the narrative a lot more than you used to. And a brand really is someone else's perception of your business, but you can manipulate that to an extent because you have such a strong voice through your social media. So we want to take advantage of that with your strategy. Better target services and products. The negative side of being on social media is people are going to be talking about your business, sometimes not in a great way. But we want to see that in a positive light. So it's called social listening. And that again is part of your strategy. And we want to find out where your ideal customer is and where people are talking about you, because that actually gives you a great opportunity. You can see, okay, we've had some complaints about this certain aspect of our product. Tell people when you fix that you've done that for them, and present that in a really fantastic and positive way that says, hey, we were listening, we've made these changes, take a look at what we've done. So it's an awesome opportunity to better target your services and products to what people are actually saying. With the strategy, you can also make content creation more natural. This is actually what we're going to focus on the most today, because this is what people really struggle with the most, is getting on their socials, just getting on their socials and what that looks like, because it feels awkward to a lot of people. You get on there and you're like, I know I have to post, I know I have to do it consistently, and you may be able to. Sometimes you do like 4 really great posts in a row and then you blink, and it's so hard to keep that going. So unless you have the strategy in place, it's going to feel cringy, it's going to feel awkward, and you're not going to be able to keep up the momentum well. So we want to make sure that before you leave today, you have a better idea of how to be on there in a smoother, easier way. And then increase your discoverability. So we're not gonna touch on this too much today, but that is an important part of your strategy is the SEO aspect. And how to increase your discoverability. I will touch on when you do a post, what every single post should have in order for people to find you better. But we're not gonna talk too much about what a bio should include or anything like that, but because we are talking about content creation, it'll lean into this just a little bit. So a strategy helps you with all of those areas. Okay, so like I said, it's doing this again, Amy, and I forgot to
Oh,
fix
no.
that. When it downloads into the slideshow format, it has like squished some of the text a little bit, so hopefully you guys can read that okay. We want to get into defining your goals and values. I'm sure that some of you have done this already. It's often an important part of developing a business plan, and you do that for however many reasons. Maybe you've been in workshops before, you've had to apply for grants. But we want to bring it back to that, and if you don't have that yet, take some time to kind of think about that. We're gonna spend 5 minutes on this slide and no more than that, so if you do need to come back to it, the YouTube will be available. I don't know, is it automatically uploaded?
It'll probably
after?
be like this afternoon.
This afternoon. Okay, so before you can do any type of strategy, you need to know who you are, right? What is your business representing? What makes you special? What do you feel strongly about? And then we're going to tailor those goals and values to your social media goals. So if you can write down your 3 top business goals and values in point form, and hopefully kind of have an idea of what those are. And then we're gonna take those and we're going to make them into social media goals. So the holiday is approaching, so maybe you want to tailor it that way. They need to be measurable. So increase website traffic by 30% in the next 3 months through set our social media channel. Maybe you need to be more on Instagram. Do think about where your target audience is going to be and think about what is realistic for you. I would say 30% is pretty high. If you're not really active on your social media right now, I would keep it a little bit lower than that. And I would say there's a good grace period for 6 months. That's in general, 6 months, don't make any drastic changes until you've been doing something consistently for 6 months on socials. It does take a long time to gain traction. Sometimes people get lucky. We see that a lot and then we think that needs to be the standard, but that is not the average and that's not the norm. So get that out of your head today. You're not going viral. That's not the goal. We're here to build that slow and consistent traction, building up over time. And then once you have some of those written down, the products and services you offer, again, you can write those down now or you can come back to this later, but keep those in mind as we're going over this. Because we want to talk about what problems they solve for your target audience and really get into that. And if you're currently marketing all of them. And your content pillars are going to be a mix of these things. Your values, as well as the products and services you offer. We'll get into content pillars soon. Okay, so defining your brand for social media involves finding your brand values, which we just talked about, but it's also about the tone, the visuals, and the personality that you're presenting. Especially when you're delegating to other people, if you don't have written down kind of guidelines and best practices for your social media and what your brand needs to sound and to look like, you can't properly delegate because it's going to be confusing for your followers. You don't sound like the business. If your tone is changing up constantly, if your way of communicating is changing up constantly, and everybody has their own kind of cadence, their own voice, their own personality, you know, maybe you have a little bit of sass, maybe you're a more luxury brand and you really want everything to be delicately said, really well laid out. You're not really using short form words or anything like that. Everything is elegant. So defining that is really important for yourself, as well as if you want anybody else to be representing you on your social media. Pause it for a second. So purpose on social media. I'm just giving some examples here. This is all about developing your role and how people see you on social media. So if you think about some people that you follow, It might be someone that you consider to be a mentor for mental health. Right? It might be someone who's really an industry leader in their area, either because they offer educational pieces of content, or they're really entertaining. I would say when the inspiration hits, sometimes it's hard to stay within a specific niche. You might see something and you think, oh, that's fun, I want to try it. But is it really within the role? Because if you're not differentiating yourself into one specific area, people who follow you for something, so let's say, okay, you made a really great reel for mental health. People are gonna follow you for that, and then you never post about it again. So really decide what role you wanna play and what lane you wanna stay in, because you're going to have up and downs of engagement if you're constantly changing that up. So really try to stay within one role that people know you for. They know they can go to your social media for that. They know they can count on you for that. And that's a really, really hard one, because again, and new graphics come up on Canva or something like that. You see a really cool template. Don't be changing up your fonts all the time. Don't be changing up your templates all the time. Just because you see something that's really good doesn't mean it's you. So really define yourself and your voice as a business and stick to that. So in order to do that, you want to know what your customers appreciate about you. So again, I said, somebody might follow you because you made a really good reel about mental health. So take a minute to think about what people might have resonated with you for, and that's what you want to be presenting, as long as it's with your business. If that mental health reel was kind of a throw off and you really are regretting it now because that's not what you want to be known for, this is the time now to take that detour and focus on something else. And that's okay. So they may have appreciated that, but you can find your new niche. If that's not, again, what you want to be known for, focus on something else and go for it. Don't come back, don't kind of waver. So we want to make that solid decision. And what role do your products and services play in people's lives? So I'm going to keep coming back to a candle example. We don't have any candle companies here today, do we? But anyway, that's what we're going to use. So a candle is a comfort, right? That's something that people want at the end of the day to kind of create an atmosphere around them to help them relax. And so you want to lean into that part. How do you present comfort? Not how do you present the candle. You're selling what people need, which is the comfort. Okay. So we're gonna get on our cell phones now. I'm gonna stop talking so much. Take a breath. So we're going to check the visuals of, you can look at the top 9 posts on your profile currently. And think about whether or not they accurately show your brand personality. If there's some that stand out that you're like, this doesn't match, this doesn't feel like me, make note of those now. If there's ones that do really stand out and you think this is what resonates with me, this is my business, this is my business's personality, think about the patterns in there and what you want to replicate. So again, we'll talk about the candle. Okay, so what colors, what visual things, what kind of text showcases comfort? So we might think creams, we might think soft greens, we might think you know, that dusty rose kind of pink. What colors are going to embody that feeling? And you want to make sure that you're consistent there. So take some time, pull up your social media, and then make note of ones that you do want to change. If there are 3 that you feel like don't match, pick those, click on them, and then take a look at the captions as well. And do your captions represent your specific business's tone and the personality that you want to be pushing forward? Does that represent your business well? Is that your brand? Does that represent your goals? And is that in line with your values? So we'll take 5 minutes to kind of do that on your own time. I'm going to grab a drink of water. anyone have any questions about that at all, or need help kind of identifying what stands out that needs to be changed? No?
Below. So like every day I post like what flavors of produce we're carrying.
Okay.
And sometimes. So our production is in one spot, my husband does the farmer's market, so. 3 days a week, but I'm open up in Deloro, so I usually let people know that we're open in both locations. And usually I try to put a picture to what I'm saying. I'm assuming that that's probably the best way. Sometimes he'll send me a picture of the truck set up. But a lot of times I'll just use like an open sign. So, and it's just very sleek and very plain.
Yeah,
It's not, whereas my logo and my colors are very retro 50s style.
okay.
So one day I had a special up in Deloro where I was serving hot meals and then I had soup. So I created a menu for my 50s diner thing.
Okay,
And that got a lot of attention.
yeah,
But it's keeping up with that consistently.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I would say if you're doing that kind of post frequently, if you have a picture that you can create on Canva, Canva has a free version.
Yeah.
And it's more of a retro open sign, maybe with the graphic in front of a picture of your storefront.
Okay.
And then post that, and after that day is done, remove that post. And then just keep using that same picture to announce to people when you're open and where.
Okay.
And then it's still in line with your brand, but you don't have to create something new every time, just save it in a Google Photos folder or whatever
Okay.
kind of phone you're using, so it's
Okay.
easy to access.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Sorry.
What if, you're talking about customers here, what if your customers are, like, we're an industry, we represent the not-for-profit industry. So we have public facing things,
Mhm.
and then we have member facing things.
Right,
How do you define between those things? Like, how do you figure out which content to share?
yeah, it depends, are you actively trying to get people to become members?
That, plus also trying to raise awareness about our industry, like it's just what we do as an industry to the general public.
Okay,
Because we have a member directory, for example, where we want people to come and find professional contractors
right.
that are there.
Okay, if you're actively trying to recruit people to become members, I would say be very, very open. Post the things that come with that membership. And in your caption, state it a couple times that this service, product, etc., that is happening for members. And then be very clear with this is how you become a member. This is how you are able to take advantage of that, because that's part of your recruitment. But it is also great content. You're showcasing what you're doing, you're not hiding it, so you're posting to the members as well as that's an awesome sales pitch to the public in general to help them become members as well, yeah. Yeah.
Could you also maybe in that case, like, could you have a certain font or like a certain title that you would make your cover photo on like a reel or something, so that when people are looking and through your whole feed, maybe like it says like members, like
Yeah.
some sort of.
Yeah, if you have a special little
Yeah.
tag or
little-
sticker across the
Yeah.
side, I try to stay away from things that are too graphic heavy. But especially, yeah, for real covers, things like that, if something just like pops up and it says members only, that's a great way to differentiate that. If you're posting something that's going on, that's just like a carousel post of an event that has happened. That may not be the case
Yeah.
in that, but yeah, when it calls for it, definitely, and have a little sticker that's ready, and you can just put it on the, just make sure it doesn't take up too much room, but it is obvious that this is like an exciting, yeah. Just be very clear in that, and it entices people. Okay, yeah. We all ready to move on, I think? Okay, so we've talked about who we are and defining our brand, how we want to speak, the personality that we want to put across, what our visuals should look like, kind of in line. And again, this is something that I'm telling you now, but it will take a lot more time to sit down and really think about that, and make some notes that are the guidelines for your brand. Then we'll talk about what's involved with defining your target audience, specifically sample buyer personas. So when I say that, that's, you either may have somebody specific in mind, this one person that is a really loyal customer or likes all of your posts, and think about them when you're creating content. Or maybe it's somebody that hasn't come across you yet, but that is your ideal perfect customer. And we want to try to replicate those people, right? We want to bring in more of that specific person. So we're tailoring your content to that person, and you want to keep them in mind when you're creating content. Okay, so this is a good road map to this. When you think of those two circles, and they kind of overlap and they have that piece in the middle, right? So you have your followers and your people on social media, and then you have people who are actually purchasing from you. And we want to find what common patterns and themes kind of be in the middle there. They should have common themes. If they do not, your followers on social media are completely different from the people that are purchasing from you. We need to make some changes, because there should be some patterns there and there should be some overlap. It shouldn't be a completely different audience. What that would tell me is you're not posting what is true to your brand, or maybe you're following some trends and not staying in line with actual products and services that you're trying to push forward. Another part of defining your target audience is specific demographics. So your analytics can be found within your Meta Business Suite. You can also go to the professional dashboard on the top of your Instagram, and you can see audience insights there. And that will help you look at the age, gender, obviously the social media channel that they're on, their location. You also want to see what content types people are responding to the most. When we go to, let's say, a reel, and it's had a lot of engagement, go on your followers there and make sure that the people that have engaged with that are your customers. If they are, then that's the kind of content that you want to keep replicating. And that can be a little bit intimidating because reels do have a lot more engagement, and a lot of people are scared of making reels. I was scared to make reels. When I first got into this, that was something that I thought, I'm not going to offer that. I'm going to make that more expensive. And then people are going to stay away from it. They're not going to want to add those on. And then I can kind of excuse myself away from video creation. Now, I'm a little bit more hesitant to do regular posts, I'll be honest. Now, reels feel more comfortable to me. So it is possible. It is possible to start doing that. And the more practice that you have at it, the more comfortable that you get, the easier it feels. So if that is the case for you, if people are engaging more with reels, we want to make note of that, because that is the deliverable that you want to be focusing on, not as much on your posts, static posts or your carousel posts. So then you want to think about your customer metrics as well. So people who come in and purchase from you, you think about them, you think about what hobbies they have. You may be creeping social media in here, by the way, follow up on some profiles and see what people are interested in. And write down those common themes between what you know about your customers and the people who are coming to your social media. So then you want to think about what your ideal customer is trying to accomplish and what problems they need to solve long and short term. So let's go back to the candle person, right? The problem is I'm stressed. I've had a really long day. Something make me feel better now, because the stressful thing is not going away, but I can put myself in a more comforting situation, and the candle can get me there. So if you're speaking to the person's problems, and you know their problems, you know this person inside and out, you can talk about that better. So again, we're not selling the product, we're selling the feeling, we're selling the solution. We are understanding our customer and we're talking to them about their needs. Selling directly often only works for ads. I'll be honest, when you go on and you say, hey, buy this thing, and you post your product, that is going to get very little engagement. Don't feel bad about it. We have to do it sometimes. We want to make it obvious what we're selling, but stick to more of this selling to the people, their needs, their wants, a feeling. And then step 5, we're gonna do the concrete example of buyer persona. So we will do that, I think, in the next page. Slide. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of a visualization, not too intensive, so hopefully that's fine. But if we can get in a zone, you can close your eyes, whatever you like to do, but imagine you're in bed, you're waking up, and you're waking up as one of your ideal customers. So you're stretching, you're opening your eyes, and you look around the room. What do you see, and what is the very first thing that you, as them, need in the morning? Is it a tall glass of water? Is it your slippers? What kind of person are you, and what is that first need in the morning? And then we want to walk through that daily routine. What are their needs and activities throughout the day? They wake up, do they have kids jumping into bed with them? Are they a single individual who is getting to a really hands-on job that's going to take a lot of work? They're pulling on their coveralls. Think about their entire day. And then where do your products and services fit into this routine? So maybe you're not a daily product or a daily service. If you're not, think about the day that your product or service would be needed and focus on that specific day. So it might be a Saturday rather than a weekday where they're going to work, for example. Then what need are they trying to fill? So again, candle company, that's maybe later in the evening and they're trying to de-stress from the day. What are they thinking about at the time that they would choose to use your business? So again, I'm stressed. How do I put a Band-Aid solution on that right now? Lighting a candle, super easy solution to that. Okay, so this is where our paper will come into play. If we can do kind of a stick figure, make them really skinny, her, him, whatever, on the far left of your page, kind of along the length there. My homework for you is to do at least 3 of these, but we're just gonna go through 1. So if you can think about your common customers and the people who are on your social media and think about what age and gender they are in that kind of middle ground, what common patterns they have together. So the person who is both a customer and a social media follower. What age are they generally? And what gender are they generally? And then think about their income. So what approximately do they make? If you're a more luxe brand, obviously it's going to be more, but then your content needs to be tailored to those personalities. And then occupation, you think about the common people that come to you. Are there any specific patterns that they have that, oh, most people are in this specific type of industry? And then what content types do they resonate with? So again, are they engaging more with reels? Do they like your carousel posts where you're doing kind of a photo dump? Or is it a carousel post where you're sharing, text and it's kind of an educational post? And then hobbies and interests. What patterns might they have there? What are they doing with their lives? What are they doing with their family? What are they doing with their friends? You know, when they sit down at night, are they watching TV? Are they journaling? Are they playing the piano? Are they reading a book? Are they going for a walk? What kind of interest might they have there? Again, we're thinking about the person that we want to buy from you. And along with the people who are already doing it, how you replicate them. So then think about goals and motivations. And then as well as, but these kind of go together a little bit, but values broad and defined. So are they a religious person, for example? Are they really involved in local not-for-profits, maybe in housing? And then challenges and pain points that might be, you know, they are struggling financially, they're hungry, they need to move, they want to be in, like, let's talk about real estate, for example. This is something that I'm really passionate in, so it's interesting that I picked the candle for today, because I'm really more in the real estate industry. But if we're thinking about people who are moving and they want to buy a home, is it they're looking for a specific school district and they really want their kids to go to a specific school in an area? Are they looking for mature trees? And I say that because I will not ever move to a property that doesn't have mature trees. That's my goal. Do they want a window that is looking out to the backyard because they have kids that they need to keep an eye on? So there are specific things that I like to work with these people. These are my common customers. If I want to replicate them, I need to think about what they're thinking about. So like the mature trees, the kitchen window, maybe a wraparound deck, what are their priorities? Are you ready to move on from that one, or do you need a little bit more time to make some notes? A little bit more doodling, but I think we're all about ready. So we'll talk about specific content now, and this is the part where I want you to feel like you can breathe. Going into developing your content, it just feels easier. It feels like it's flowing a lot better. It feels smooth and natural to put things out there. So types of content, I've touched on that a little bit. This is when we're talking about campaigns. So your campaign deliverables, those are what you might need when you're launching something. It's a short-term thing. So you have an event coming up and you want to strategize the specific types of content that you need to be posting in advance to get the word out there. So that might include ads, specific type of footage. Maybe you need to get a professional person in to take some pictures, whatever it is. And then your content pillars are more consistent. So we'll talk about content shot list around those. They're the main themes or topic that your social media content will revolve around. Okay, so again, question to ask yourself. So think about someone who may be approaching your social media. And I really want you to get outside of your head what you like to post and think about what they want to see. So often I see people who are doing things that are really graphic heavy. And that's because to them that looks pretty and it feels good. They like, you know, maybe throwing a border of leaves around something. They have a product over here and a product picture over here, and they have some text across the front, and you know, it's fun. It's fun to create that. They like it, it feels good. Unfortunately, often those posts are too busy and they do go unnoticed. When someone is scrolling on socials, it's too much. There's too much sensory happening there. They can't see immediately what it's about. And oftentimes people will scroll past those. So you want to think about what your audience member needs to see. And again, if we think about the candle, and I want to feel at ease, you know, I want to feel relaxed. If I see a busy post like that, I don't feel relaxed. You want to think about the people that are going to be buying from you, what feeling your content is portraying to them. So what do they generally resonate with? And there's clues, right? They leave clues for you. So if you have done a really great post in the past, take a look at that and say, well, what made this special? Why did people like that? And try to replicate that post. So again, who reacts commonly to your social media, which pieces of content? So we're identifying those clues. We want to replicate them. And thinking of moments where you created videos where you felt a genuine connection with your customers. What made these engagements the most successful? So the patterns that you can find with those successes, you want to think the type of content. So were they resonating with a reel, a carousel post? Maybe you did a live. Who here has done a live video on Instagram? Amy? Okay, that's, I expected no hands, honestly. It is the most intimidating thing on there, but oftentimes it does get a lot of engagement. And if you post it after the fact, it's really great for sales, direct sales to people immediately. So if you're really trying to draw people into an event, lives are the best way to go about it. I have only done one once. They're scary. But if that's what your customer resonates with, I want you to be practicing those. And if you're just doing, you're pretending that it's alive, that's fine. Post that after, because that's great. You've gotten on camera and you can also edit it. But practice a couple times and put yourself out there and it will deliver. So think about those, but then also think about the topic that you were posting about. What was the text? What was the font? If you've already committed to a font and a specific type of text, I don't want you to do any drastic changes. Because it needs to look like your business, right? If you already have branding in place, don't be listening to me here, okay? But if you don't, if you're kind of all over the place, you're changing your fonts up all the time, what have people reacted best to? That probably means it was really legible. If they are people that are your customers, that means that it is a font that represented your business well. So there are certain ones, people are very visual, right? So again, the candle company, something that may be a little bit more minimalist, kind of elegant, it does create that feeling of kind of simplicity and peace. So again, the visuals, we think about colors, and then there's hooks as well. So both visual hooks and textual hooks. And what I mean by that is what catches your attention more? I'm sitting here in a chair and I'm, just talking to you and it's kind of boring. Or if I'm walking towards you, or if I'm catching something, or if I'm throwing something, those are the kind of visual hooks, especially in a reel, that's going to catch attention. You want to catch people's attention in the first 3 seconds, unfortunately, because our attention spans have gotten shorter and shorter. Social media is part of the problem, but we're going to know those things and use the facts to our advantage instead of being frustrated by them. Know it and adapt. You can't change it. Okay, so then there's also textual hooks. So that means that first piece of your caption, or if you have text coming on the screen, you want it to be catchy. Sometimes I say, an introduction piece is very boring, right? Start talking and then cut that first part out and just start at the part where you actually get to what's good. And don't worry about that preamble. It'll feel good. It'll get you in the zone when you're recording yourself, and that's great. But when you actually go to edit, just throw that out. People will pay attention a lot better when you're starting with what you actually need to say. And then do these engagements translate to potential leads? So again, the goal is not to go viral. The goal is not to get tons of followers on your social media. We want people who are going to talk about your brand to potential customers or who are going to be a potential customer. And obviously social proof does play a role here. The more followers you have, the more people will trust you. They come to your profile and they say, oh, a lot of people like this person. A lot of people like this business. I should too. That does speak volumes. So obviously that does play into this a little bit, but we don't want that to be our main focus. When you are trying to replicate your customers, just trust that they are out there. That people are not that unique, right? So if you have someone who's bought from you and they also follow you on social media, there's more of them, right? Lean into that niche. Don't be trying to speak to everyone or else you're speaking to no one. So really focus in on those people. Okay, we're gonna do an example business, this is Sunny Fields, I don't know if anybody has been to like Woodstock area. Although there's one in Bowmanville, actually, Watson's. Has anybody been to Watson's? Okay, yeah. So this is just envision a really big farm that's very family friendly. They have random little play areas. They obviously have the corn maze going on. You know, maybe they have, the one in Woodstock has like a big tower and they have a candy cannonball. It's a whole thing. It's like a farm theme park. Okay, so envision that. These are your content pillars. It is not simple, but it is possible in a system with a strategy. So when we say topics, right, like a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that's easy, that's my services, that's my products. It is, but there's often sub pillars in here, and once you break it down, your content is going to be so much simpler to plan out and so much simpler to understand. So what I want you to do is replicate this. This is also your homework. There's a lot of homework, but you're going to take this picture home with you. And this is a content pillar. You have a sub content pillar, and then you have a sub content pillar. And then these are your content ideas. And from your content ideas, you will have your content shot lists. Okay, so it looks intimidating because this is just one pillar. But once you have it down pat, oh my goodness, does it become so much easier. Your content shot list is so much easier to replicate. You can keep doing these type of things over and over and over again. You can reuse your B-roll. It will just make your a world of a difference for your social media. So we're just gonna do one content pillar example. So family getaway to Sunny Fields. And do start with a service or a product you offer. That makes it easiest. We're not gonna be like crazy and abstract. In here, we do get a little bit more on like the type of content that you want to see, and it's a little bit more values focused. Here, a value content pillar could be organic farming benefits. They might have farm to table dining. There might be a rustic cabin stay. Maybe there's like a vacation rental on the property. They have events, maybe they're a venue for people to rent, and then a storefront, etc. Okay, so there's a wide range of things, and that's why I said at the very beginning to think about what services and products you offer, because that defines your content pillars. You want to talk about those things, but you want to make sure that they all come across in similar ways so that it is consistent to you and your business. And we'll talk about that in content ideas. But then defining your brand guidelines is so important because you could have a million products and services. And if the way that you present them is different across the board, it's not going to resonate with people. It's not going to set you apart. It's not going to make you memorable, and it's not going to create customer loyalty. You need to make sure that you are really leaning into a specific brand. Okay, so family getaway to Sunny Fields. We have play zones, seasonal food picking, and educational experiences. Some other examples, just so you kind of have an idea again, is, you know, nature trails, outdoor exploration. This is all under family getaway. Animal encounters, hands-on farming, arts and crafts corner. The one in Woodstock has costumes. You can dress up before you go in. It's really fun. Under play zones, and of course, there's probably a lot more here as well, but we've got petting zoo and bounce zone. So that's what we're going to get into. So the content ideas that have come up here are for the petting zoo, kid to animal interviews, where, you know, a child says something, then the camera pans the animal, and then it's a voiceover of another child saying something back. So this is, the idea is that it's playful, right? This farm is obviously very family oriented, and it has a lot of personality, but it's also a beautiful location. So the visuals are going to remain beautiful, and then we're going to add the playful approach in our text, in the audio, and in the captions. So then some other ideas, it's feeding time, zookeeper lessons, bounce zone, candid seasonal B-roll of families playing, And then adult tours where staff talk to the camera while walking and then show how to use the equipment. Right, so you're showing this beautiful location and then adults playing on a bounce zone, being playful. So, let's talk about content shot lists for a minute. When we are doing the adult tour, can anybody kind of tell me, walk through that with your brain? What content would you have to gather for that? Who would have to be in it? And what specific shots would you need to have in order to create a 15-second to 60-second reel? Anybody? Yeah, Amy?
I would maybe start with like walking in and like showing where you are. Maybe like if you're driving far, like the drive there. I feel like it would like kind of start before you actually get there.
Yeah,
And
it
then
could.
like walking and the tour guide. I don't know.
Yeah. For this one, and again, let's think, how do we grab people's attention in that first 3 seconds? So I would think it is face of the camera first. Maybe somebody walking backwards while they're being videotaped. I recommend this selfie thing is not great when you're just showing this part of your body because that's all that can capture. Try to get away from that. It really doesn't come across as well as we think it does. Those are just not the types of content that draw people's attention, unfortunately, because they're the easiest to do. It is much, much, much better. Either use a selfie stick, one that maybe has like the disappearing thing, whatever it is, or have someone else video you. So face straight onto the camera, walking backwards, welcoming them into the space. And then Amy, that is where I would have a pan over of kind of the area, very, very quick, keep everything quick, but remember you can speed things up after the fact in the edit. And then while it's panning over, having a voiceover. So those are all the elements that we would come together for that video. So you want to know who's comfortable being on camera. So figure that out about your team first. Who actually wants to volunteer for this? If nobody wants to, is there incentive you can offer, right? You want to commit to your social media, commit to your social media. And that might take a little bit more financial commitment as well. And then we have somebody on camera, we have a pan over of the actual area. So I would recommend getting the best quality visuals as you can. So either a really good phone or professional camera. Again, all the elements involved. And then you have someone standing back, recording them actually using the equipment. So whether that's setting the phone up on a tripod, or again, it's somebody videotaping them close up. When you come in close up to people's feet, for example, you're jumping up and down and you're getting the movement there. Go with close-ups and far back. So your content shot list would consist of all of those elements in order to do just this one reel. And I know that sounds like a lot to keep replicating those, but you can organize a content gallery and be able to reuse that consistently. So that B-roll of somebody jumping up and down, that can be used for an ad in the future. With a text overlay that says something like, Bounce House is now open for the season. And it's just that up close thing of people jumping. So that's not to waste. You're not doing this constantly over and over again, but these are standout series. If you can do a couple different series of things that will make you memorable, that will set you apart, that people will keep coming back for, they really like a specific series and they want to see more. So moving on to seasonal food picking, we've got experiential and we've got instructional. So experiential is presenting the dreamy vibes, candid B-roll with catchy captions. Again, we're maintaining that playful vibe with the really nice aesthetic of the area. Presenting friendly competition between staff, maybe a customer scavenger hunt, but something that people can do on site. So it's enticing them to come to the location, giving just a little tease or tidbit of what that scavenger hunt looks like. Instructional ideas, filming staff members trying to direct field while blindfolded, again, keeping it kind of fun. Staff demonstrating how to choose ripe fruit or veggies, including color, firmness, and smell cues. And that kind of thing would come down to personality. So you do want to think, okay, who's willing to be on camera? Who's good at being on camera? And if you have to test people out a little bit, that's fine. But in this case, this farm would want somebody that's a little bit maybe funny, a little bit playful. They're talking about a tomato and they make a random little dad style joke, right? It's keeping in line of that brand voice that you want to get across. So think about the people that are representing you and can they speak in that personality that you need them to. Coming down to educational experiences, so farm tours, Meet the Farmer series, including fun facts and personality. Example, meet Farmer Amy, she loves talking to tomatoes. A trivia tour showcasing part of his farm tours where, where the staff stop at trivia plaques and see if followers can answer them. So that's, you want to think about what the content does. So this will increase engagement. Because if you're asking questions, especially if you're talking to the camera and asking questions, people will come in the comments and they will want to answer those. Keep it super simple. Don't be asking these deep questions unless that's your brand and you've already built up engagement, because it takes time to build that trust. So saying, you know, do you like chocolate chips on your waffles or do you like blueberries? Those are the kind of questions that you want to start with before people are willing to answer kind of more complicated things. Don't just jump right into the deep end. So that gets them talking. And then we have a beekeeper, so a day in the life of a bee series. Use animations or playful text overlays to mimic the bee's thoughts. Save the bees, be a buddy. Beekeeper talks to camera while interacting with the bees. So these content ideas, if you can take a day and kind of sit with your team and it's just a social media day and you're coming up with these content ideas, but then you need to break them down. How do we actually implement that? What kind of content shot list do we need? And if you've noticed, there's a couple of B-roll things in here. So this day in the life of a bee, that is a series, and it's an interesting one. But when you have followed the bees around a little bit and you have B-roll of that, you can use that for so many different things. You can use that for this because that just needs you to do a voiceover for the reel. It doesn't matter what the bee is doing. Somebody can describe it after the fact. You already have that content. So anything that you can replicate, stick with that. And again, these series things are a lot more complicated. I would build up to that. If you're not there yet and you're not ready for that yet, start simple. Start with the B-roll, start with the voiceover after the fact, start with things that you can put text over top of and that you can keep reusing. So when I mentioned that, it is more important to be consistent than it is to be pumping out these complicated, high quality things. We want to have a really, you know, like a good mix of both. Obviously, you don't want to be throwing garbage on your account over and over again. You want to represent your brand well, but come up with a plan that is realistic. So if it's not realistic for you to do those more complicated series, stay away from that until your social media has a better system implemented. You're trialing out this system. This is a new system that I've given you today if you haven't used it before. So you're trialing it out. Don't, again, jump into the deep end. Start with something that is realistic, you can stay consistent with. So maybe that is the B-roll. Now we want to talk about practically how we're going to implement that. Because I talked about having a day where your team is kind of structuring this out, coming up with different content ideas, content shot lists. But how often do you want to post? That is part of your strategy. Because once you decide that, I want you to stay consistent with it. If you can only keep up with 2 times a week, only keep up with 2 times a week for now. You can build up from there. I would not say that grows an account, but it's good. It shows that you're active. It will help you gain slow traction, which is fun. So take a minute to walk through your day, your week, in your workplace, what that looks like. Where is it realistic for you to fit in shooting content? So the last people that I met with, they decided Thursdays, it's kind of a little bit of a slower day. People are a little bit more tired. They want a little bit of a break from their work. And so they picked 25 minutes after lunch, everybody's kind of getting back to work. We're doing it at a slower pace. They thought this is a really good time on this Thursday at like, I think it was 1 o'clock. I think their lunch hour was from 12 to 1. So they picked from 1 to 1:25 and they went around, did panovers, gathered B-rolls, did little interviews with people. Everybody was kind of in a more relaxed mood. We've gotten over the hump of the week. It was a really good day for them. So think about it in that regard. What about organizing it? So let's say you're shooting your content on Thursday at 1 to 1:25. When do you have time to actually sort that into your folders? So those are all the things, if you don't have a plan in place for that, it's gonna sit on your phone and it's not gonna go anywhere. So whether you're delegating that or you're doing it yourself, make sure you schedule that in. And it will take, I would say, depending on how much content you're getting, 15 minutes max is usually how long it takes me. And sort that into folders, whether it's Dropbox, Google Drive, Google folders, albums, make sure you're sharing it with your team and everybody who needs to use that. So pick a day to do that. And then what day works to take that organized content and edit it into a deliverable. Right, so you want to pick preferably either the afternoon after you're organizing it or the day after at least, even if it's somebody else doing it for you. So create your weekly list. That might mean you're gathering footage on Tuesday, uploading it and organizing it Thursday, editing Friday, and then what day are you going to schedule your posts out? I recommend to people to do a month if they can, work up to that, but if you can start with a week, that's great. The content ideas under your pillars take time to produce, but you can at minimum develop a fundamentals content shot list to create a B-roll gallery. How I recommend doing that is focusing on 4 themes. So decide who should be showcasing your product, because you need to think when are they available. The product and services best features, have a plan, don't go in blind, know what you want to share about that product, what really makes it shine. Where the product or service looks best, so again, we're thinking about the candle, that probably looks best in front of a really cozy chair. Maybe there's something nice and simplistic beside it, like a nice plant. Maybe there's a throw blanket and a pillow. Maybe there's somebody holding a steaming mug of something, and the candles in front of them. And then how the product or service is best used. So if we keep within those 4 themes, you don't have to go crazy with your content ideas. The examples I gave in the previous slide is something to build towards. Start with those 4 themes and just make a content shot list based on that. And then go with your scheduling, very important. Okay, so this is a little bit more homework. So you want to research what kind of content your buyer persona is most engaged with. This is the list for you to reference, because we did talk about this previously, but if you want a list, it's right there. Draw the flow chart from the previous page, write down 3 content pillars that align with your brand definition, your audience, and your products and services. Pick 1 pillar to break down into sub-pillars. They should educate, entertain, or engage if you're not inspired by anything. If you keep within those, that's a really good place to start. And then what footage do you need to collect for these? So that's when we're talking about break these down into specific elements, and that will be your content shot list. We need a minute on this slide. Anybody have any questions? I feel like I'm talking really fast. Okay. After absorbing it.
Yeah, there's so much good information.
Yeah, actually, let me take a look at how many. Oh my word. Okay, guys, how do we feel about, this is a social media audit that's basically just checking in on how your content's doing. So everything I talked about before, how they're engaging with it, keep an eye on, watch for the patterns, watch for what people like, focus on replicating that, as long as it's not just following a trend, as long as it's within your brand values. I think I might skip over this a little bit. Do we want to talk about posting fundamentals? We'll do this and then we'll jump into a little bit of. Oh yeah, like.
That's okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
We
Okay.
can go over like a few minutes if people need to leave.
Okay.
That's fine.
So posting fundamentals, make sure you're checking all of these things off when you do a post. I like to have a sticky note of the list right beside my computer, because this is a lot to remember. But again, if you have the system in place, super simple to implement. So have it somewhere where it's really obvious, because you're not going to remember it every time you go to schedule things. So for discoverability, having a proper cover photo for the explore page. When you're doing a reel, if you have a cover photo, that makes it really clear what that reel is about. Like, let's say the beekeeper again, day in the life of a bee, right? That would be your text that would go dead center, really easy to read. You don't want it to be too small. You don't want it to be too big. Make it really obvious so that when it comes up on the explore page, people click on it because they know that's something that I want to see. Keywords. So there's something called keyword stuffing. That's when you know the keywords that people are searching that have to do with your business. So anything that's kind of associated with your business. So candle, comfort, smells, cozy, things like that. Make a list of the keywords and try to throw them in your captions, but don't just do keywords. It needs to make sense. Hashtags are a little iffy right now. Meta has said a lot of different things about hashtags, and they're recommended right now is 3 to 5. You can post up to 30. I recommend doing more when you have a shorter caption, because then it'll still help people find that piece of content. If you have a longer caption, do less. That keeps it a little bit more simple, and you don't need to do all this trial and error of, oh my goodness, that does better when there's 2 hashtags. People have tried it out the wazoo. And honestly, there seems to be no real answer that's consistent for every single account. So just do it like that. Long posts, less hashtags, short posts, more. And then if you're using the keywords, it should come up regardless. Alternative text. That is an option when you go to do your post. You can click to add alternative text. It's a really great opportunity that I don't want people to misuse, because this is for the visually impaired. So it will read out what the picture or what the content is showing, but it does give you an opportunity to say cozy space with a blanket, with a candle, and describe what's in the picture. And that does help get your content out there as well, because then Instagram reads that and goes, oh yeah, that's what's in this piece of content. So when people search for that, it should come up a lot easier. Then let's talk about networking. So when you're posting on Facebook, I mean, Facebook groups have all these different rules, but as much as you can share your content to there and it's applicable to that, I would. Tagging accounts. So let's think again, candle company, you have purchased a local blanket and that's the one that's being featured in your picture. Tag that local business. They'll probably be happy for the extra exposure. It might get shared to their stories, which means it's being shown to their audience as well. If you can stick to local brands and showcasing them in your pictures, you're going to gain local traction that much better. You know, don't use like a Hudson's Bay blanket, for example. If you can, use things that are from local businesses because they will likely share it. If you can talk to them in advance, you can also do collaborative posts. So maybe that's something, does anybody not know what a collaborative post is? Everybody's good on that? Collaborative post. So that is when you post something and it's shown on both feeds. So it's the exact same post across the board, but people who interact with it from somebody else's profile, their comments will also show up on your profile. Their likes will also show up on your profile. It's a shared post. Yeah. So obviously that gains a lot more traction. So if you can organize that, yeah.
Good question now, this is specifically Instagram, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna say Facebook does not have that option.
No,
And
they don't.
the business suite app for Meta does not have that option. as
No,
well.
and neither does
You have to-
scheduling.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
very difficult sometimes I find when you have so many social medias.
Yes.
To remember about that, because I'm just trying to use one app, just trying to get it done, because I had to do.
I know. They don't
And,
make it easy.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something, cause like I know
Yeah.
on that app that posts to both Instagram and Facebook at once.
Yeah.
It does not have that option for collaborative posts, but I have done that, like, when I was interviewed by somebody and we collaborated on, I've done it before, but I knew it was only Instagram.
Yeah,
Just double checking.
and you're using Meta Business Suite?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I don't schedule reels on there. I find like the music, everything that I want to put on reels is not an option on Meta Business
It
Suite.
is now.
Yeah, okay, I
Yeah,
haven't
things have
actually used
changed
it for a while.
Yeah, it's
I'll
functioning a
check.
bit better now.
Awesome. So collaborative posts, and this one I did try yesterday again. They have changed some things about that recently. So you can now add collaborators after the fact. You did not used to be able to do that. You cannot schedule any content with the collaborator. You can schedule it, but it will lose the collaboration piece. So if you're scheduling something in advance, it won't include the collaboration. So just keep that in mind when you're doing these posts, and let's say you're scheduling for the weekend, you don't want to be posting on the weekend and you want to make sure it's scheduled. You may have to go in after the fact and add the collaborator. So just have that plan in place and make sure you're following up on that content. Platforms and cross posting, make sure you're taking advantage of, and Meta Business Suite is a really good one for that because it's just right there. TikTok, unfortunately, if anybody's on TikTok, not necessarily the same audio. You have to change the timing for different things. Of course, music is kind of if you're using a business account, you have a completely different music library. I would recommend getting copyright to as many things as possible, or copyright usage. But yeah, cross posting is really easy to do on Meta Business Suite. Linking your Instagram and your Facebook, and TikTok is unfortunately completely separate from Meta. So you will find that it is a little bit more tedious if you want to branch out into that. As well as YouTube, and X and anything else that you're on. So reach and engagement. Interactions, I recommend for people to do 5 every single morning. So whether that's responding to stories, you're sliding into somebody's DMs, you're commenting on somebody's posts. I actually have gotten 2 clients from commenting on somebody's comment on somebody's post. So I've added that now as a specific thing that you should be doing. So anything that you can think of that is a way to interact with people, whether you're sharing a post, whatever it is, do 5 of those in the morning. And that's part of your engagement. Call to action. So sometimes that's really, really good to have as the very first thing that you have on your post is, what do you want people to do? Do they want to comment a specific thing? You're going to send them something. I know probably a lot of you have seen that a lot. Or do you want them to check out a new menu on your website, whatever it is, make sure it's near the top and give people something specific to follow up on in every single post. Music. It's unclear sometimes. I mean, it depends. If you're really passionate about a certain song and it just really fits well with what you're doing, use whatever you want to use. But I would say stick to trending as much as possible. So that's when it has a little arrow. You can tell that it's trending. If you click on that arrow, by the way, it'll take you to a huge list of trending audio. Or anything that says original audio. Those are usually trending, like audios that have funny different things and they're really engaging, or your original audio. So it's something that's your voice is talking, your music is on there, and it's a new audio to Instagram. This is what they're pushing right now, especially these original audios, because that shows them that is original content and it's a smaller account, is how the algorithm defines it. So I think they made an announcement, this was like months ago. I don't know if you remember that one. Yeah, that they're pushing original content more. Hook, again, so we talked about hooks, we talked about the text, so make sure it's something kind of catchy. That's the text in front of your thing. Your caption, the very first line should be something catchy that's hooking people. And your visual, we talked about, walking towards the camera, the walking backwards with the face on, throwing something, catching something, spinning in your chair, closing your laptop. It should be an action. You should not have anything still. as the very first shot. Not unless you're saying something really controversial. If you're saying something controversial and you're staring straight on the camera, you're not moving, people are gonna pay attention. But that's really the only time that I would recommend. I mean, play around with it, but try to have that hook incorporated somehow. So those are all your posting fundamentals. Again, you can come back to YouTube to see those. Okay, I don't know that we're gonna, this might be a little bit of a homework thing because we are really running out of time. But this is what I would recommend doing after you leave here today, is checking out what was your best performing post in the last 90 days? What made it so valuable to people? Was it true to your brand or just a trend? This is a very good summary of everything that we've talked about. And how can you present all your content similarly if it aligns with your brand? So that's identifying the patterns and pulling all of that information together. Okay. So that's the end of that. We're gonna go over content creation. I don't know how much time everybody has. Is there anybody who can stick around and do that, or do we want to wrap up, ask some questions? How are we feeling? Any strong opinions about anything?
I will have to duck out by like 10:45 latest.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to.
Other than that,
okay, okay. Is there anybody who would really like help with creating content and scheduling it? Are we feeling kind of confident in that area? You're good? Okay. Hey, I feel like that's good. We kept it within the time limit then. Thanks everyone for coming out.
Thank you for doing this.
Again, I really appreciate you being here. We did not cover everything that I wanted to, but I do come to your workplace if you want someone to come and sit with your team and really walk through things. I do offer that as a service. The specific questions to ask yourself is more of a journaling workbook that I will be releasing at some point.